Thousands of people have made their way to Standing Rock over the past few months to show their opposition to the Dakota Access pipeline. One of those is Clayton Thomas-Muller. He is the Canada Stop It at the Source campaigner for the global climate movement 350.org. He joins us now in our Winnipeg studio. Thanks for joining us, Clayton. Let's start with the pipeline in Standing Rock. You were there earlier this month. Why was going to Standing Rock important for you?
Well, for me, answering the call from water protectors on the front line there in Cannonball was, it was something to do in terms of, really responding to the moral sense of responsibility that we all have to protect water for future generations. Whether it's Standing Rock, Dakota Access pipeline, or the half a dozen pipelines we're fighting here in Canada to keep the tar sands from our coastal lines for shipment to international markets, we all have a sacred responsibility to keep it in the ground and stop this oil infrastructure from locking us in for the next 50 years to the oil economy.
What challenges do you think First Nations in Canada have in common with the water protectors at Standing Rock?
Well, I think that medicine line is the only thing that separates us in terms of difference. We share a connection to the sacredness of Mother Earth, a connection that we need to teach the rest of humanity to have. For us as Indigenous peoples, a relationship to the sacredness of water, to the resources of the earth, and to each other, we must hold up in a good way if we're going to solve the climate crisis, if we're going to solve the economic crisis that's driving things like climate change and the expansion of the tar sands.
So that's what we have in common. Now, what are the differences?
Well, I think that, unlike the United States, here in Canada, we're dealing with a government that, finds itself in a precarious position. If Trudeau approves the Kinder Morgan pipeline or other tar sands pipelines, he will align himself with President-elect Donald Trump. Our brothers and sisters in the United States have quite the fight ahead of them in the next 4 years under a Trump administration, and we First Nations here in Canada need to do everything we can to stand in solidarity with them and to hold our own Prime Minister accountable to keep oil in the ground and to reject the Kinder Morgan pipeline.
We are hearing more and more Indigenous people this past few months who have been going down to the camp in Standing Rock. Why do you think that is?
I think that Indigenous peoples all across the planet are holding Standing Rock in their heart, whether it's Aotearoa, New Zealand, or Ecuador, or the circumpolar regions, or right here in Treaty 1 Winnipeg. Indigenous peoples are responding with their hearts, with their spirits, and with their bodies, and heading to Standing Rock to support those on the front line to stop energy transfers and the North Dakota government's police apparatus from oppressing those people.
All right. Clayton Thomas-Muller, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.